Welcome to the Simple Minds podcast, where six mates unpack three topics over a new drink each week. Fuck it, just go with that. We'll fix it if it's...
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Simple Minds podcast. Our goal for this podcast is to help simplify deep topics through conversations about the journey of life and business. My name's J Moffit, and I'll be hosting the episode today. And on this podcast, I am joined by Matt Hanham from Visible, a digital marketing and social media agency focusing on amplifying businesses online. Michael Duncan from Meta Creative, a digital marketing agency specializing in branding and web design. And of course, Conrad Francis from Inspired Money, a financial services company in Perth aiming to make quality financial advice accessible to all Australians. And how did I almost forget ConradFrancis.com, which he definitely didn't pay me to mention. Apologies from Justin and Trav today, who are on the road, and Justin is celebrating another big year with his team.
Oh, cool.
Having the Christmas party.
Also, apologies to my pop filter for spitting all that beer over. Conrad jumped in front of you, but hi.
Don't mention the drink. Shh.
Yeah, when you put it like that, though, right, we've got these two digital agencies sitting here side by side collaborating. It's actually quite cool.
That's true.
We bring the world together with this podcast.
Mortal enemies have come together.
Mortally. No.
Today I want to talk about leadership. We've covered leadership before a few times on the podcast.
So why are we doing it today? No, I'm only joking.
It's a big topic. You can't cover it in 45 minutes, unfortunately.
It is a big topic.
I want to talk specifically about the dichotomies of leadership. A recent book I listened to by Jocko Willink and his teammate Leif Babin talks about a series of dichotomies of leadership, so kind of opposing ends of a scale that you kind of got to try and balance. I'll quickly read through the 12 that are listed in this article that we've kind of referenced this week, and then we can kind of debate the merits of the different balances, how to strike that balance in a day-to-day and a kind of a long-term basis, and potentially debate whether you do need to find some of these balances or whether you can be more or less one or the other. First one is, a leader must lead but also be ready to follow. Second one, a leader must be aggressive but not overbearing. A leader must be calm but not robotic. A leader must be confident but never cocky. A leader must be brave but not foolhardy. A leader must have a competitive spirit but also be a gracious loser. A leader must be attentive to details but not obsessed with them. A leader must be strong but likewise have endurance, not only physically but mentally. A leader must be humble but not passive, quiet but not silent. A leader must be close with subordinates but not too close. A leader must exercise extreme ownership, but simultaneously that leader must employ decentralized command.
I love that one. Fuck, that makes me horny.
Gives you a semi. And 12, a leader has nothing to prove, but everything to prove. So
Podcast over.
This is a great topic. I love this shit. Great topic.
So the first one I want to start with is, a leader must be aggressive but not overbearing. I know myself, that's one thing I've struggled with a lot. I'm a relatively sort of passive person, fairly quiet. Being an aggressive kind of leader is something I've not yet really grown into. But because of that, I tend to sometimes get kind of walked over myself and struggle to kind of position myself as the leader sometimes.
Yeah, that's number 2 though. We went right past number 1.
That's cool. We don't have to do these in order.
Okay.
It's an interesting one, that one, because he's not doing a full dichotomy of aggressive and the opposite spectrum. He's saying you've got to be aggressive but not overbearing. So the aggression's still there.
Yeah.
So he's
I like the word assertive, like where he uses aggressive. I do like the words, but I prefer to use assertive when he uses aggressive.
Yeah. And I think that comes from having confidence in yourself as a leader like that, and that's something I'm slowly developing, but especially in the early stages, I didn't have that self-confidence yet, and therefore I found it hard to be assertive and to really kind of go, no, this is the way we're doing things, or no, this has been done this way for a reason, and I've kind of just, I guess, crumbled a little bit and just kind of gone, okay, we'll do it that way, or
Well, interesting. You use the word "I'm slowly developing," right? Because given what you put into our chat group about your next 12 months, what you're hoping to achieve, do you believe you've got time to create what it is you're trying to create? To acknowledge the word "slow"?
No. I have time, but not enough. I don't think slow is right. I think I've got to develop that quicker to make it happen. Yeah.
Yep.
What about the aggressive side? Because you said you struggle with that. Do you think you are in a position to push into next year with a more aggressive attitude, or
assertive
attitude?
Yeah, I'm becoming much more okay with knowing that that's not necessarily me. I'm not a default aggressive sort of person, but I can kind of put that out in when it's necessary, kind of like. And it comes with backing what you're saying. If you're having a conversation with a child, a teammate, a kind of a person that you coach, if you have confidence and you back what you're saying, that's when you can be more assertive because you're not hesitating, you're not unsure about what you're delivering. Whereas I think in the past I've not had that full confidence,
and therefore questioning
it's really hard
second guessing yourself.
Yeah, it's really hard to be aggressive when you're self-doubting as well.
But self-doubt, I've dealt with self-doubt a lot this week.
Personally, or just amongst people around you, or
self-doubt is personal. I mean, it's created by the situation that you find yourself in. And I wrote about it and journaled on it this morning, strangely enough. But if you're not in a space of self-doubt, you're not going hard enough. You're too comfortable, right? So
self-doubt's an important element.
You have to embrace it. And self-doubt is connected to self-worth, connected to love, all of that shit, right? So like I've said to everybody, and it's happened again this week, when you're reflecting on yourself and you are doubting things on where you're at, do the work on self-love, reconnect with yourself and believe in yourself, and the world provides everything else. Do the work that you need to be doing.
I posted this week as well something.
You post every fucking day, mate. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but it's true. But so do you. But I posted if you're not feeling or you don't feel overwhelmed at any stage, then you're not necessarily growing. And that's different, but along the same line. And a couple of people quizzed me back in response saying, "Oh, like you shouldn't always be an overwhelm." And I agree. I didn't. But if you're not getting yourself to a point of overwhelm, whether that's too much work on, it's pushing you past the barrier, then you're not doing enough. And I think it's probably been asked of you in the past, certainly in some of the stuff you've shared with us, what is that one thing that's going to stop you from going forward next year, Jacob? And I think you pretty much know that answer. And the answer also lies in what you've just said, that
100%.
slow.
The answer lies in these 12. It's actually, and I don't know whether you brought this to the table because for that reason, but when I go back to reading what you wrote, knowing your business, knowing what you're trying to achieve, if you can't envelop those 12 characteristics, I can't, and I say you don't have to be perfect in them, but if you can't acknowledge the work on them on a day-to-day basis, you won't get where you need to get to, because you have got a great business, right, in a great sector. Yep. With a great different value prop.
Yeah.
All right. Drive it.
Yeah.
Well, the challenge is in, like, for me, just overarchingly looking at this list, the challenge is in the decision making. So obviously you've got there all these opposing forces, and at the right time or the wrong time, you need to decide the other way. And I think that's where the challenge lies in the certainty.
But just on that, before you take that further, right? Yeah. The line of getting to a decision comes from an emotion, an emotional trigger. Emotions lead to decisions, decisions lead to action. So if we're going to stop a decision, we've got to take it back to what is the emotional trigger. Otherwise, we're mid-stance and we're discounting.
And does that emotion sometimes stop the process moving forward? Because you haven't dealt with the emotion.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So what is the emotion that's triggering the decision that's leading to the action?
Well, that was that podcast I listened to during the week, and you asked me what I got from it. It was about when you feel the pain, what is the belief that you're feeling at that time? What's the emotion that's coming up? Then you can understand it, deal with it, move forward. So being very self-aware.
Does that make sense, Matt? Sorry, I wanted to
No.
just pull you because I think if you take it one step backwards, then you're really getting to a point where you can look to change and have real reasonable expectation that the change you're taking is in the right direction, the decision making in the right direction. Because if you don't come back to the emotional trigger, I think everything else is superficial.
Yep.
Yeah. And I like where you were leading that one there, Matt, is that in the micro moments, you can kind of push both ends of the spectrum. In some moments, you may need to be very assertive. In other moments, you might need to kind of deliver a little bit of empathy and kind of like be okay with kind of being a bit softer in that moment.
That's what he says here, doesn't he?
However, in the, that'll probably come further down as well. However, in the macro, you've kind of got to be okay with finding that balance. Like if you're only ever assertive, people will kind of start to, I guess, fear you, or they might see you as someone who's just always pushing. If you're kind of not assertive enough, then people will walk over you. And we know that as parents, as coaches, as leaders, that it happens a lot. You've got to kind of tread that line between being assertive and delivering your message, but not pushing it so hard that they kind of fight back against it.
Well, I think the word you used there was empathy, right? I think everything has to have an element of empathy in it. Otherwise, then you are just a dictator without any real emotional attachment to things.
Yeah, it's having that, I understand what you've said, and this is the way we're going to do it because, not just this is the way we're doing it.
And I think what you said before is you have to back that up with your reasoning for it. You say, we need to do it this way, and they go, okay, and why? And you go, we just need to do it this way. It's like, that's not going to be good enough.
Because I said so.
Yeah, exactly.
I've done that before.
Oh, you've definitely done that before.
There is a time and a place, guys, right? I mean, if someone's standing in front of a bus, you have to take action, right?
Yes.
Right? So if they fail to do the work, the people that you're leading, if they fail to do it, if they become complacent, then you have to then get firmer. Or you've got the wrong people to lead.
Or there's not a consistent knowledge of the goal and what's trying to be achieved.
Yeah.
And if you roll
Which
back
is why
to
visions are important.
Yeah, but if you roll back to the first one, leader must lead, but also be ready to follow. Like that is a conscious decision made at the time by someone who I guess has decided to step in front of the leader because they believe that at that particular time, their particular action is the best thing for the goal, and for the leader to acknowledge that, take a passive role in that sense and allow some of the responsibility to be taken by someone else, just as an example. But if you don't know what you're trying to achieve, you're going to be second guessing that at all times because you have no clue if someone stepped out in the right or wrong direction.
The interesting part there, I used this analogy in my office recently about the Tour de France and the peloton, the big riding group at the front, and one of my guys there is an avid rider. And Shane, one of my business partner, he's a leader, and he'll lead through action. He's a very actions orientated leader, not a words orientated leader. And I said to Paul, it's you guys can see what Shane's doing, but Paul, you watch Tour de France, you go out riding on the weekends. I said, any chance of you giving him a break? He's out there leading the pack. And I said, what happens to the leaders of those packs if you don't get relief? And I said, how much relief do they need? And he goes, 5, 10, 15 minutes sometimes. I said, so you don't need a lot of relief. But then again, you've got to play that part as that leader and know that, well, that's what Paul's doing. He's just giving me some relief. I'll go back and get refueled up and restocked up, and then I'll take it over again.
Well, that's a great analogy because...
God, it's fucking fantastic, mate.
If you had the depth of knowledge in the sport, maybe.
That's the best analogy ever on Simple Minds
He left it
podcast.
in one place. But the winners of that race are not ever basically leading that pack.
No, hardly ever.
Within their team,
But they're important.
unless they need to.
Yeah.
Unless a situation arises and they have to push out in front for whatever reason that is. But typically their team or their group of their riders, there is people out sacrificing their energy on those longer days, and they're just pulling along the guy who they're looking to win.
Domestiques. The other members of the team that are
Fucking hell. I have been watching the Tour de France for about 10 years, mate. And that's the first time I've heard it ever called that.
Can we consult Google on this one?
Domestiques. Okay.
I did not know that either.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Okay, is it correct?
I need to get myself one.
That's what We quickly go down to number 9 here, but that's when the leader has to be a bit humble and know when he does need to refuel as well, not push back on. And I think that's what you're saying, Conrad, is he has to be very self-aware of he does need to step back. He can feel somebody coming through to take pressure off. So
understand what's going on. Yeah. Don't feel threatened.
Yeah,
that's the big thing.
That's the ego coming in the way.
Yeah, for sure. That's because you think you're on top of the tree for a reason. Well, you're not. You're there because people want to follow you, for sure. But that doesn't mean they have to always follow you. And you shouldn't want to always be the leader.
Yeah,
because that I believe is problematic in itself, and that shows more about you than it does about anybody else.
Yeah. So your job is to drive the momentum in a direction, and then be able to step back.
And I talk about putting the guardrails up and keeping people in check.
I needed that doing bowling the other night, by the way.
So did I, by the way.
You definitely needed the guardrails up.
No, but that's the thing. Like a leader sometimes isn't out the front anymore. They're at the back pushing people along, or they're outside keeping people in check. Right, so the term leader has evolved over the years, and it's really interesting because, and we talked about before this started about this business transaction that we've got going on at the moment, and watching the dynamics, management versus leadership was really, really interesting. And where are you leading your people to, or are you just managing a situation?
Yeah, they say that good leaders don't create more followers; they grow more leaders.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's about empowering, and that's the big concept about decentralized command.
Yeah, that's why I say that's sexy.
That Jocko talks about
work more.
Is because Jocko comes from the Navy SEALs. The military command is very hierarchical. They've got rank and order, and that is a very clear structure. However, for him, he's got to try and grow leaders that can transcend that and kind of go in what situations do the juniors become leaders and kind of
in tough situations?
In tough situations, especially.
But the truth is, right? Everyone's leading.
100%.
Yeah. And when the more you can empower people in their positions within your organisations and your teams, that even if they're the fucking janitor or the cleaner, they're still leading because they have responsibilities, right? And without them, what happens the next chain up? So in a microcosm way, I always challenge my guys to understand that they are all seen as leaders. Because if you don't, this whole theory of extreme ownership and decentralized command, too much responsibility sits on your shoulders. Too much risk sits on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even if you don't have anyone beneath you, you don't have traditional subordinates, you can still be a leader. You can lead without title.
They're the greatest.
Yeah, 100%, because there's no expectation that you lead, and therefore you do it naturally when you feel compelled to, not when you feel, responsible and that you need to.
And we've all done it. We've all sat back. Michael's now got Victor working for him, so I'm guessing it's happening.
And Victor, I am the leader.
But when somebody within your teams start to take over. I mean, I actually sit back at times. I've got an open office place, and when I start hearing the conversations and seeing some of the younger guys and girls start taking the lead and telling the advisors how to do things and why things should happen a certain way, it kind of excites me.
Yeah, you feel proud that you've created a culture and an environment where they can step up and they feel confident to lead and.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Fostering that. And even if what they come to you and say isn't right, the fact that they can still do that and feel comfortable to do that is fantastic. And that's because they might get it wrong 70% of the time. But you'd rather them question and challenge and think and talk than sit there like a bunch of mutes waiting for the next piece of work to hit their desks. Yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir.
So... Look, they both talk about cleaning rooms.
You want to go there?
I'm going right there. I'd say...
let's get back. Let's go back.
I'd say, Jocko to you, Jacob, is kind of like what Peterson is to Mike. There's a very special bond. Well, from your side anyway.
Jordan Peterson has actually been on the Jocko Willink podcast, so it's
worth a listen. But he hasn't spoken to you personally that I know of.
Not yet.
so both relationships are one-way streets to the extent of my knowledge.
Yeah, they are pedestals that are being worshipped.
And you've raised
False
Jocko
gods.
a lot of times, and great. I don't
Look at him, mate. He's a fucking chip off Jocko's bloody
exactly
block.
why.
Army reservist.
Yeah. Okay. Why
Speaks his language.
Is that what?
A little bit.
Or why are you focused on him at the moment? Like, what does that translate into your business that's happening right now that you're trying to raise and elevate yourself into?
The biggest one is that my word for 2018 was discipline, and I see Jocko as one of the kind of pinnacles of discipline-based leadership, kind of in the current sort of environment. And the coming from a military background himself, and for the brief exposure I had as an Army reservist, I understand the way that they develop discipline through consistent, deliberate action is the way to grow teams, and especially the Navy SEALs and any sort of elite military group are the best examples, because they're not followers, they're leaders. That your traditional army, especially in the US, they're trained to a minimum and they're just taught, follow instructions, do what you're told. Once you kind of transcend that and become a special forces or SEALs or any of those other kind of things, you get to a point where you've learnt enough and that you know the rules well enough. Travis said it well a few weeks back, that kind of learn the rules and know how to break them. And these guys they've got sufficient discipline that they can now go back and start breaking rules. And for me, my word specifically was discipline. That's something I've identified is a weakness that I have. That's something I want to improve, whether it be discipline to stay focused on tasks at work, whether it be discipline to consistently take action towards my sort of bigger mission and vision for my life. And therefore I see him as someone I kind of want to emulate, not perhaps as strict as he is. However, there's a lot of aspects I can take from his work life, his work ethic and his methodologies as well. And I enjoy the way, because I love military history, I love the military life, and therefore the way he breaks down concepts is sharing a story from his experience, relating that to a leadership concept, and then showing how it applies in the real world, because he has his own business leadership consulting business, and therefore he breaks it down from kind of interesting story to practical leadership advice into an actual application within a business. And I find that just really simple to understand.
Here's a question for you then.
Ooh.
Or a long silence.
The pauses are interesting. So I've been told.
I can see it in your eyes. You're like, I'm going to pause here for effect. I'm going to drag this one out.
Thinking about that for 10 minutes.
No, I wanted to actually speak, but I'm again trying to not speak over people.
What?
Fuck off. If Jocko was mentoring you, how would he rate you out of 10 right now?
Ooh.
And I'm going to use Tim Ferriss's concept of one to
Pleading the
fifth. One. He says you got to rate yourself 1 to 10, but not 7.
Okay, yeah.
Purely because 8 is real good, 6 is not so good, 7 is like in between. I think he would, to his standard, a 5.
Okay. And so, do you think do you have a desire to move up on that?
Yeah, I think an 8 is what I would like to. An 8 is what I'd target. I don't think I like a bit of flexibility, and I don't like the really, really disciplined structure of, say, like a 10 out of 10, like getting up every day at 4:30 and just doing the same thing every day. However, I know there are areas where I can tweak and improve to get a little bit more, to make better action or more deliberate action towards outcomes that I want to achieve, and to get, I guess, more performance and more.
All right, so let's fast forward 12 months. What for you to get to that 8, all right, off the top of your head, you know, this is whether you've thought about it or not, and what 3 things you need to do.
One is get clearer on what that looks like from a day-to-day, month-to-month basis. What are the habits and actions and routines that need to be in place for me to consistently say, yep, that's a day, a week, a month, that is an 8, and be clear on what it looks like.
You've got to go micro on that. Like, what are the things you need to do because you've said that's a nothingy answer. That's like,
yeah,
I need to do this and this and this and this. But what, like, out of that then, if you need to do 3 things from that, what you just said, to get you there, what would the 3 habits be?
Good. I think consistency in my physical training is a big one. Like, you know, that's a big thing that that you guys admire about me, that I do well.
I'll call bullshit on that one. All right, I know where you want to be in 12 months' time. All right, I don't believe it's about your physical body.
Mm-hmm. You're happy with that?
You can get better. I get that, and you'll do that regardless. All right, let's talk to you being the leader you need to be to lead the business to where it needs to get to give you the life the fuck that you're chasing.
And I'm listening to you, man. This is the same journey. Well, same journey we're all on. It's not at you.
Yeah. So you're on the hot
100%.
seat without a doubt, all right? But fuck, if we're going to play this topic, let's get real.
Yeah, I reckon the biggest one I find is, for me, is procrastination. Is that it's definitely getting better, but there's always room for improvement. Is that spending too much time on, whether it be watching videos or on Instagram, or kind of just mindlessly kind of
easy
scrolling
tasks.
Yeah, that's it. Scrolling through my feed.
So if you had that time back, what would you do with it?
I would, at the moment, I would be much more efficient with my time in the business, so I can then be more okay with spending the time away from the business as well.
All right, so that's one. So get more time back, less procrastination.
Yeah, because at the moment, if I don't do a lot during the day and I drag it out, then I kind of go home feeling I haven't achieved or I haven't succeeded, and therefore my time at home with the family is distracted because I'm like, oh, there's all these things I should have done today. So I'm not immersed in, and I'm not focused in either of those.
The thing is, with that sort of thing, you can't beat yourself up too much. It's happened. Like, you haven't done something. I wouldn't sit and wallow in the evening about it. Just be fucking honest with yourself and say, not good enough. And tomorrow,
Well, that's what Jocko would do.
and tomorrow would do it. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, because that's where he's coming from. He's experienced those life and death moments. He knows what something like procrastination in
He
execution.
procrastinates. All these guys they're all human
Everyone
as
does,
well.
without a doubt. But
Yeah.
would he procrastinate if it was going to cost him a life?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We know it probably. Well, he wouldn't.
No.
Right, and so this is what I'm saying. He's mentoring you, right?
Yeah.
So what does that need to look like? Put a number on it and fucking just go there now.
Yeah, I think doing the things that are going to take me closer to that vision and that goal, rather than doing the things that are easy.
But you've got to be really
Specific,
clear on what these are.
So we've talked about
Yeah.
procrastination. So when we talk about removing procrastination, what I'd like to see, and you can share it or not, I don't care, but what does that mean by a time basis on a per day basis that you're giving back to your business, and what are you going to get back out of for that?
Yeah.
So coming back to your point earlier, like, I don't have the answer to this, but my level of awareness around when I'm procrastinating, and particularly when I'm active procrastinating, doing some task which is not the highest and best use at the time, it's emotion based. So what emotion is pushing you at the time to flip open Instagram?
This is a big topic, man.
I know
don't
it is,
I'm not sure you want to open that one right now.
Yeah, but it is.
Seriously?
No, but you because I feel that's what slows me down.
Of course it is.
And so it's emotion that actually drives that procrastination, which becomes a circular story into itself, which slows you down more. Despite being, look, we're all high performing as an average in this room. Typically. So in many aspects of our life, not necessarily everywhere, but we generally are performing high. But it's not what I've discovered myself is it's not writing those 3 things down and then just achieving that just by writing them down. It's not how it happens.
No, it's not. I mean, but it's got to start somewhere, right? But so if you put those things down, then you're exactly right. The questioning then becomes, well, why are you procrastinating right now?
What's the belief pattern? Like, what's
that's where the elite get to, right? Because they pull the fucking weed. Otherwise, it's just going to grow back.
Yeah, and I think the last 2 weeks I've actually been in a lot better place where.
What would Jocko say?
I reckon he'd be. Yeah, he'd give me. I reckon I'd get a pat on the back.
Ooh.
That the last.
So you're an 8.
The last 2 weeks have been an 8. Yeah.
Okay.
However, the year average has probably been more like a 5, 6. So.
Okay, so are you prepared to pull that, extrapolate that behaviour for 12 months?
Yeah, now that I've seen it and experienced it, I think it's definitely, because there's always a fear, what's that going to look like? What's it going to feel like? However, now that I've done it and I've put in the hours, I've freed up some time for family, I've struck a better balance, I've delivered on the marketing that I need to.
Well, that's not leadership though.
Leadership
is not believing because you've seen and experienced. All right, leadership is actually believing before you experience. It's that faith conversation again. All right, anyone can believe after you've seen something. Anyone. All right, the leader is the person that sees it, does it, then believes.
Yep.
Because the action drives the inspiration. Not the other way around.
Yeah. So, I actually had this conversation in my office yesterday with Shane talking about a Bible story where, and if you guys can indulge me for a second, as the Christians and Catholics talk about the resurrection of Jesus Christ just after Easter, and he reappeared to his disciples, I think about 11 days later, and Thomas wasn't in the room. Disciple Thomas wasn't in the room. So he reappeared again when Thomas was in the room, and the saying goes, happy are those that believe but have not yet. Sorry, happy are those that have seen and yet believe. Happier are those that have not seen but yet believe. The phrase "doubting Thomas" came from that piece. All right. Yep. So leadership is doing in the belief or the faith that it will achieve, not knowing that it will achieve.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing I've struggled with. Like a lot of tasks in your day-to-day like work life, or like for me fitness is very easy. I know if I do the sets, do the reps, I'm going to get better. It's very linear, it's very clear. In something like marketing, which is very new to me, you can put out ads, you can put out content, you'd never quite know how people are going to relate to it, how they're going to engage with it, how are they going to, what sort of click rate are you going to get, all these things. Like as I get more expertise in it, I'll learn.
That's because you doubt yourself doing it, whereas you should be. Yeah, it's still a linear thing. To do that Facebook campaign, you do boom, 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 and boom. Like there's kind of no excuse. I mean, I'm with you, man, on this. Because I'm very similar in. Yeah. And I'm dealing with it now with Victor on board and whatever. But I've got a really good self-awareness of when I'm procrastinating, as you said. You know.
But you can do the reps there too. Like Facebook's the same thing.
It's just keep going.
It's just the reps. It's just, look, you have to spend money or whatever, but it's still just a series of doing the reps. It's just a lot of things. It's cadence in a lot of ways. So what becomes interesting in, I think I read it's not something I read. I think it was someone I heard speak at some point, but I can't quite relay the full story. But they were talking about, they had a business and it had some sort of annual publication. And his mentor had said to him that the biggest problem you've got is you can only iterate annually. So you can only do one rep a year, which means it's going to take you 20 years to get even close to good at it. Wow. Because you can't continually practice and repeat and get better every single time. Find something you can do quicker and faster. And he switched to some sort of like daily publication. Changed his entire business model to allow him to improve every day instead of have that. And that concept is interesting in that space, and that's where marketing's the same. It's very much the same. It's still a rep.
And a big thing for me is also that perfectionist piece. So number 7, he talks about a leader must have attention to detail, but not be obsessed with them. And I can be a very obsessive attention to detail person, and to a degree where that I procrastinated on it not being perfect. With So I'll look in my training. It's not nearly as big a problem. I just kind of put it out there because to a degree, it's just a training journal for me. I'm not really too fussed about what people think of it. Whereas when you put out your content,
No, come on.
But to someone else, that's
concerned what people
massive.
think about it. You're putting it out there. You want them to watch it, right? You do. You got to be concerned.
yeah, I'm in that. I have this balance where I get a good camera angle. I show my best reps. I put out a bit of a spiel, but I deliver it consistently. I'm delivering all my training.
I can't do what you do, but I love watching you do it because your body's working in a way the body's meant to work. Mine doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and I have the equivalent admiration of the way you work in your business, taking action, and that's what I would like to get to a point is that I see some of you guys, Conrad, yourself especially, of just you know what you want and you go and get it.
Yeah, but that's a lot of years of failing too, right? It's a lot of years of failing.
I think the perfection thing's getting you, man. You can never get to the perfect spot.
Can we get back to what number 2 would be for you then? Because I want 3 things out of you. I really do, because if this is the guy you're living and breathing at the moment, okay, before the year ends, let's solidify another 2 things that you're going to take.
You should write him a letter tomorrow. In 12 months, this.
Okay, so number 2, I think, would be that perfectionist piece, is that I have in my mind this idea of what something's going to look like, and I don't deliver it until I perceive it to be good enough.
I don't think you do have in your mind what the perfect outcome is. I think you're using the perfection language to stop you.
Fuck, I love this podcast, guys. I'm loving this. This is fucking great, right? I'm going to take my pants off.
It was great. Now, the last 15 minutes will be Conrad by himself. I'm not sure what you're going to hear, but
It won't take 15 minutes.
Heavy breathing. But this afternoon, like before this podcast, I knew I had to leave at a certain time. I knew I had to deliver. Like every week, we put out a new training tip via Messenger to our audience.
I like, see, we're seeing it in action. Like you've been perfectionist in your
are seeing that.
in your preparation for the podcast. I mean, you printed out the 12 things for all of us. You wrote down your whole spiel, so you got to your maybe what you thought was a perfect place.
Yeah.
Did that work for you?
Yes. That when I get to a point, I go, this is good enough. Let's deliver it.
Good enough.
Good enough.
Not perfect.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I need to remind myself. And often, when I think, oh, this could be better, I don't think I know you're right. It's not the perfectionist piece as much as that fear of what are people going to think, that fear of what's life going to look like when I achieve this. What happens when I do become a fitness expert and people go to like X?
You are.
Yeah, I was going to say, what planet are we on here?
Publicly.
What's the biggest piece of
What are you talking about?
What's the hardest piece of work you've done this week towards this, what 12 months looks like from now? Because I know there's to me, and what I know about business and yours and where you're at, there's probably 7 to 10 things which are going to throw you out on a limb to force you to have nowhere near enough time to prepare for this podcast properly.
That's where you want to be.
What have you done this week down that? That made you feel like that.
What have you done for Matt lately?
No, but that's where
I was going to sing there.
That is the only time, because I do things very much the same. I think we all do, right? I would love to walk in every time into this podcast perfectly prepared. Not never happens, but the more I set a bigger...
You aren't?
The more often, or when I'm working towards a big goal and I've bitten off some serious action towards it, like signing another lease, that starts in 3 to 4 months. And look what happened the first time you got going. Rapid action because you were forced to. So what are you doing or have you done to start to take some radical action? Because look, inherently, or certainly I'm lazy. But not if I put myself under the hammer to achieve something because I'm committed to some date for something, or no, not just committed, something where I'm going to hurt if it doesn't get achieved. Like I'm going to hurt financially, or I'm going to hurt in other ways if I don't start taking massive action towards something.
Yeah, and what I've noticed in this last couple of weeks is that one of essentially my second in command, Ben, is my kind of closest teammate at the business. he's been away for the last 2 weeks on his honeymoon, which is awesome. And it's let me step up into kind of having, like, doing a little bit more. But it's also that expectation is when he gets back, I want things to be better. I don't want some of the challenges we faced.
That's not going to get you towards that goal.
And that's really interesting language.
That's
you just
perfectionism.
said Ben's not here, but then you've had to step up.
You have to do more work. But that's not going to... Your goal is not about you delivering a better product right now, at all, to the extent that I understand. I think you're delivering a good product.
Yeah, it's not making
Even a great product.
Actually, do you ever practice gratitude? Are you actively grateful for what you have? Man, you've created one of the most progressive gyms in the whole of fucking WA.
If not Australia.
Exactly.
If not Australia.
I mean,
You've got your touchdown. You're fucking kicking things all the time. Do you ever practice gratitude?
No.
And let me tell you why you don't feel that way, right? Because somewhere along the line, it's not stacking up with tons of fucking cash in the corner of a room for you. That's it, Jacob.
Yeah.
and
That's
what you want this year is technically tons of cash in the corner. So perfecting a little bit better an amazing product and service and gym and location and community that you've already got is not going to achieve that. The expansion, other things, other product lines, that is what's going to move you towards the feeling. Because what you're chasing is
we
the
can
result.
fix the money thing, right? The getting you more money, and I'll say this on fucking, getting anyone more money is the easiest fucking thing on the planet. And it's easy, all right?
Can you help me now?
Conrad's lead magnet is located at
Well, in my life, I have found getting money is easy. Okay? The problem is the person trying to get the money. True story. True story. All right? Fix the person, the money sources that you've got the ability to attract from, because you are connecting with them and you're adding value to them and you're delivering a great service and quality to them, they'll pay you. But you've got to be all of these.
Yeah.
8s or above. You've got to be those, because if you're not those, then you're not going to have the tools at your disposal to extract the gold.
Yeah. And I think like gratitude would probably be the third piece. Is just I never take that stock and take that moment to go like,
Smell the roses.
yeah, this is what I've achieved.
Fuck, man.
Pat yourself on the back, and then it's just constantly not good enough.
I can't tell you about how many fucking people I've listened to on a daily basis that have achieved amazing things that will rank gratitude. Fuck, if it's not in the top 2, it's in the top 3.
I'm very grateful for this conversation. Also because I'm actually, not attacking you, but I'm quizzing you at the moment. But a lot of this is still very relevant to me, and in activities, decisions, things that I'm doing myself.
We're projecting onto you.
I'm definitely projecting.
It resonates.
Conrad's
with a lot
not.
of people.
No, I'm transcending
He's
this.
transcending.
I'm trying to give you a lot of accountability here.
Yeah.
All right, because fuck, we can consume content like any other fucking muppet that can press a button on a phone.
Yep.
All right, and there's plenty of them listening to this.
He didn't mean that.
No, true story, right? We can sit there and consume content like you. I'm like, fuck, how great a world do we live in that we can watch whatever the fuck we want to watch, whenever we want to watch it, wherever we are.
That in itself is something to be unbelievably grateful for.
Fuck.
It
And I'm
did
sitting
not
there.
exist 10
No,
15
when I
years
fucking
ago.
had to jump on 2 buses to get to the Perth Library to read a newspaper. True story, man. True story.
Didn't the corner shop have that?
Didn't you guys own in Delhi?
It was an international paper.
I was going to say, were you
But
researching Tasmania?
do you see how I started to look at you guys?
Was it the Sun from the UK? Page 3, that's what you're after.
It was the Wall Street Journal, Michael.
Okay.
But do you see what I'm saying? You guys have got it so easy.
Yeah. It just
So easy.
But fucking hard at the same time.
Yeah, you're right. But the hard work is internal.
And that's it, man. The pain that you've
We
got
have
to go
choice. We have a lot of.
So this is why you need to choose wisely. Where you're spending your time. What are you consuming? What are you doing? Why are you doing it?
yeah. And being proactive rather than reactive is something I've been getting better. Like these last 2 weeks, I've been delivering ads, putting out content, but I'm the first to say I've been delivering a lot of stuff on our kids program, which I know I'm comfortable marketing. I find it a lot easier.
You've got no room in your kids program anymore. Am I right?
Yeah, it's full.
It's pretty much full. Yeah,
But that's what you're focusing on.
Yeah,
Jacob!
I know.
So you're making a loss right now because you're spending money on something you can't put any more revenue in.
Perfection. That's what. So
Yeah.
you probably might have 80 or 90% capacity, right?
But like the net loss, right?
Pretty
Because
much,
if you're
yeah.
spending time and money on that right now, you're already maxed out.
Yeah.
So you can't make any more money from it.
You're chasing 10%.
Like I do need to put the stuff out to fill it, but it's there and it's delivered now. The thing that scares me the most and that I'm not doing is growing and marketing our adult program, which is
Face it. We've got to face it. That's what we're doing with the
It's
website
our-
just now.
yeah.
Yeah, we've got
It's
to
our-
get that shit out. Fucking, it's not perfection. It's
Yeah.
Get it out. Because the truth is, your kids' program will continue to thrive.
Yeah,
Right? There's momentum there.
It's the best program in probably Australia.
100%.
Yeah.
I can't even get the people that I'm talking to, their kids in there.
How much money have you got to invest in this? Okay, let me reframe that.
Yeah, that's a bit
I think we
personal.
need as in I think there's and whether you want to go there and why this is there's a busy bee, there's a little construction day that we might need to
hey, I like this.
do together as a team with a few bits of materials, maybe $1,000 or $2, and take it the facilities to another level to allow more adults to get in there and get out of there and do what they need to do.
Yeah, I'd be open to that.
I don't mind. I can hang with people with power tools.
You haven't fixed
You
that.
can run drinks.
That chair is still sitting on the floor over there, Conrad.
No, but like, no, sorry, but that's one aspect, right? But it's one thing that is a clear
Needs leadership.
issue that needs some
Yeah.
leadership around. It can be achieved, and it's easy to run the resource excuse, but I'm sure is highly achievable within 30 days with a little bit of help, a little bit of cash, a little bit of whatever to achieve an outcome. Currently, for those listening, Jacob's ablution facilities are not quite to the level that would be expected of the average
Ablution.
gym. But however,
We don't have
people-
showers.
Don't have showers.
I thought ablution was a toilet.
Yeah, well,
Can be.
I wasn't sure whether there was a toilet.
Don't go around
Jacob knows have a shitter.
Don't go around the back of the building.
So I mean, but like this, and it is leadership in the sense, and I'm like, it's an easy thing. It's gone
course
for
it's
so long
leadership.
now, right? But look, if you're worried about the adult program, I mean, it's an important thing. I mean, the fact that your gym actually has the member base and the community it has, not having that ability,
Gratitude.
is insane.
Gratitude.
This turned into a workshop.
I think being like, it feels wrong to ask for help as well. Like,
Oh, here we go.
and not specifically from you guys, but like I could put a post in our members group and say we really want to build showers. Do you guys know
What the fuck do you think a community does,
a
mate?
plumber,
do that?
an electrician?
Can you do that right after this?
Ooh.
What do you think a community
Yeah.
does, mate? That is the epitome of a community.
And you
Yeah.
have one of the best fitness communities in Perth.
Yeah, because
Leadership.
we don't have the resource of money at the moment.
This is not a money. This is not a money
But we
solution.
could offer people membership. We could offer them training. We could provide value in another way. So
Mate,
hey,
just let people help you. Just let people help you. Without
Yeah,
expectation.
Let's do a busy bee
Without
day.
expectation.
Like, not just us, everybody, the community, everybody.
We can build it.
Put it out there. Like, this is the thing. I'm saying to you, you don't need to exchange anything. Just ask for help. I did it last night, mate. I just told you. Humility. A leader must be humble but not passive. Quiet but not silent. Come on, man.
yeah,
Let's step up.
I've been silent.
You've got the solutions all at your fucking fingertips. You have.
Yeah.
Long pause.
Another one I've made a note on here is sort of confident but not cocky, and I guess that comes to the ego as well. Is like, to what degree, and that's something you probably see on the sport field especially, is people that can celebrate victory and like own their power and their ability, but not. And for me, cockiness and ego comes from talking bigger than you can act, whereas acting bigger than your talk, it's kind of the opposite. It's that humility piece.
Confidence is an internal thing. Like
It's a very fine line.
cockiness is an
Yeah.
external thing.
It's a very fine
Wanting
line.
people to see how good you're doing.
Yeah.
This is the gratitude piece again. You've got to be confident in yourself that you've already created something great.
Yeah. And one
Keep
thing I
working
struggle
on it.
with a little bit in the business is that I'm very much a generalist, not a specialist. I'm a little bit good at
But you're meant to be.
Yeah.
You're the leader.
But you're an expert in financial advice and everything
Am
with
I?
finance. Yes.
Am I? I fail maths, brother.
Yeah.
I fail maths.
He's not qualified.
No, I'm not qualified.
As in, you don't carry a current ticket,
I
right?
don't carry a current qualification that allows me to give financial advice. No.
Inspired Money's share price just went down.
Yeah. But from
No, I've
don't
decentralised
need to.
command. I have decentralised command.
yeah.
Leadership's an EQ thing, yes. It's about
Well, yeah.
emotional intelligence.
I can talk about money like anybody else because I know the fundamentals of it without a doubt. I can talk about money better than most people that are qualified because I share my stories of how I use money the wrong way and how money's attached to the psyche of a human being. Most advisors can't even go there with you.
Yeah. And I think just comparing yourself to others is something I struggle with a little bit. Is that within my business, I'm the head strength and conditioning coach. However, that's just a piece of our puzzle and it's something I've put probably 20 to 30% of my time into. So I compare myself to people who are the world's best or even Perth's best strength and conditioning coaches, and I can't necessarily speak their language because I haven't gone as deep as they have. So when I put
there's already the language there. You haven't gone as deep as they have already, so you're already putting
Fuck
yourself.
them, mate. They don't have your community.
yeah,
you can't compare yourself to them,
yeah.
right? Because there are no two Jacob Moffits in the world. All right? There are no two.
well, several on Facebook.
None like you, though, Jacob.
That's true. Even in Identical Twins, I had lunch with one of my old employees who had twins a couple of years ago, and the two girls that she had, they are so different. Identical twins. The DNA is identical, but the way they respond is so different. And I said, you know what? The soul chooses the body.
Yeah.
The body chooses to shower.
I listened to Jocko this week, I think yesterday. I listened to one of his leadership podcasts where he was talking about the Band of Brothers. I don't know if you've ever seen the HBO series, Band of Brothers.
I remember.
And the commander of that, the main guy from that thing, he was reading his book. And Jocko was going through his book. Not his book. Didn't read his book. That's his book. And Jocko said that the first thing this guy said about leadership was number one is honesty. And Jocko didn't have that in any of his stuff. And Jocko was like, shit, I'm going to focus on that now. Because
I don't believe in that.
honesty.
Mate, if you're a leader, you've got to achieve an outcome. Does everyone need to necessarily know what's going on at all points in time to get there?
Not saying know what's going on.
If you don't need their help, no.
Yeah, but you're
Maybe
not.
you need their help.
If you need the help, then they do.
But you're not lying to them.
Yeah, you shouldn't be lying to them.
Yeah, exactly.
This is where honestly, maybe some
no.
white lies told every now and then, Mike.
Lying by omission.
Because sometimes the truth might actually, and I do agree with you to a point.
The scary thing with not being honest is if you're a leader and you've got multiple people below you, you try and control that shit. And
Yeah, but if you're going to give somebody information that you know they can't chemically deal with,
yeah, that's
If it's
just a
going to
choice.
influence their action and you believe in the wrong way towards the mission,
You're not being dishonest though, you're just withholding something.
yes, cool. Frame it that way. I do that a lot.
That's right. I mean, if you actually told them something completely different that was a fucking lie, that's...
No.
But you know, honesty is a powerful thing.
Of course it is. Mate, religions are based on it, mate. Of course it is.
Yeah. And we talked about vulnerability in the last couple of weeks ago, and you need those moments
You've
where...
been pretty vulnerable today, mate.
Yeah.
I rate that.
Yeah. And I'm having more of those moments now with my team. Like number 10 here. Leader must be close with subordinates, but not too close.
Yeah, that's
and
a
that's
hard
one
one.
that I've always found hard because I I want to be friends with these guys. Oh, I am friends with these guys. We all started the business together. It was small. We had that startup culture. We were close, and still are. And however, I'm now kind of coming more to terms with you can have that, but if you're too much trying to be their friend,
if it inhibits your decision making,
Yeah.
it's too close.
I'm now finding that having Henry as a really young child, I'm not experiencing it yet, but you guys will know that if you try to be too much of a friend to your child and not their parent, there can be challenges with that. I think I'm finding that as a leader.
We can unpack this one on another topic because that's another big topic. But
Yeah.
you're exactly right. You're
It's
right.
like how
Honesty.
Not always. Especially this time of year. I'm not being honest with my kids.
Santa's coming to visit.
and people perceive you as the leader as having everything together, and especially people see.
But we talked about this last week, right? That's bullshit.
Yeah.
'Cause there's no leader I know that's got everything together. They might be able to
No.
make the best decision under pressure. That doesn't mean they've got everything together.
Yeah, and your team don't always see that little actions you're taking. They don't see the challenges you're facing. They don't see the bills that are
No.
piling up. So, and I'm not deliberately choosing moments of vulnerability, but it's just kind of going, I'm struggling too, because then I can see their challenges, and that empathy piece and that like relatability that comes with vulnerability is huge. Where I don't want to have this divide between me and the team where everyone perceives me to be different, but you also need to be a leader and be the one that's kind of setting that direction. And that's probably one of the ones I struggle with the most, finding the balance is when do I kind of be strong, set the direction and just go, everything's all right, and when do I go, no, we're struggling a bit. Because in the past I've had team members that have, when I've said, hey, we're struggling a bit, they've kind of taken a step back. And we're in a good position now where a team member that did that has left, and now when we face challenges and I say we're struggling, people go, hey, what can we do? Whereas
if you were going to use vulnerability like you have with, or like Jocko has with these 12, so you can be vulnerable but not weak,
yeah,
not show complete weakness, where
I think vulnerability and weakness are probably hand in glove.
they are. But
it's
weak-
taking
but-
off the armor. Like
Yeah, so-
vulnerability is
But not too much. This is the thing. This is this dichotomy. Yeah. This is.
I don't know whether you can, mate. Like I think we talked during the week that the polar opposites of the same thing exist with the same vibration. And I think if you're aiming for something, then you're probably going to get it wrong most of the time. If you want to be vulnerable, we know that being vulnerable opens us up for a lot of things. I don't think you can aim to being vulnerable and watching whether you're weak at the same time.
Yeah. Well, if we talk about Conrad's spirit animal, the butterfly, you're a caterpillar. You get into your cocoon,
Not
and
the peacock.
you're in this strong kind of
spirit
protected place. In order to become the butterfly, they have to break free and be vulnerable in order to grow and
Yeah.
spread their wings.
Because they
And
never went into that cocoon with the wings, right? They've
Yeah.
got to trust.
so,
They've got to be able to think they can fly, because you know why they come out of that and they fly straight away.
yeah, and
What
one
the fuck taught them?
and if you-
They just trust nature. They just
Yeah.
have trust in it all.
Apart from that fat fuck on what's that TV show? That's
It's from ants. I think we'll put that in the show, in the blog.
that would be me with butterfly wings. It'd be me, that big fat fucker.
Sure will.
And if you think about it, like the strength we've got as a group recently is that we're all okay with being vulnerable. We're in a position we're comfortable with in our breakfast group, in this podcast specifically, and that allows
We're not
us
okay with it, but
We're more comfortable with
we still acknowledge it's painful to do, because you need that painful. It would
Yeah.
be vulnerable if there wasn't any pain involved in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're
Well,
accepting.
I think it's pain going through the layer of bullshit you tell yourself. I think once you're there and you can accept that, I don't believe it's vulnerable. I don't think it's painful. I mean, I don't find it painful talking to you guys about shit that I seem to be looping in. I want to bash myself in the face up every now and then and I'm fucking here again. But I've chosen to see the silver lining. And whenever I'm revisiting a life lesson, I know that around the corner something great's going to happen, and it's happened around me with other people. Now I've just got to sit there and believe it myself again.
Yeah. And if you think about the activities we do with friends and family, we're celebrating life. You get together with family, you might not have seen them for a while, but you just celebrate, you tell stories, you go out partying with your friends, you celebrate birthdays. These are the things you do with people you're close to, yet celebrating wins and kind of doing, like catching up for drinks is something that I don't do very well with my team. Is that, yeah, we train together occasionally, but we don't celebrate wins. We don't catch up for drinks. In the last 12 months, this year, we haven't done anything that I can remember outside of the gym, outside of the workplace. So my desire to be close with them isn't really being met at the moment, in that, like, yeah, we're friends but we don't socialize outside of we don't have that relationship, and therefore, and that's possibly because I'm too passive, too quiet, not vulnerable enough to them that we get beneath that layer.
Yeah, but you've got other demands in your life this year too, mate, right?
Of course, yeah, we're not going to catch up for beers every night because I've got a family, they've got family, they've got stuff going on, but you can easily see the workplace is just a place you go to work, and then...
Yeah, I don't know. I think your workplace is not just a place to work. People experience life at your place. I think, in my place, at times we could be guilty of getting the work done. But, I mean, I'm happy with the environment and the vibe of my office these days. I can't help but think, I don't have fucking hanging bars and soft mats because we're a business. We're an office where people are going to come and fucking do officey things.
Not like the office we're in. Not like what we're in now, right?
No.
Serious work.
But yeah, no.
Do you ever find that gets in the way? Like, finance is a very serious business.
It has been. I mean, I've tried to... I hate that fucking word. I have done a lot to remove the stigma of seriousness. I mean, it does. Yeah. It does involve a lot of serious conversations, without a doubt.
Of course.
But finance is finance, mate.
Okay, I guess another dichotomy is professional, but not cold or not
unprofessional.
No, he's talking about not being a cock when you're wearing a suit.
Yeah, like being professional, but not being like stiff.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking to me, right? Growing up, one of my goals was to wear a pinstripe suit and drive a Jaguar, because I like Jags. You couldn't get me loving more what I wear to work these days, and it's a polo shirt and fucking whatever colour pants I pull out of the wardrobe. Because the individualisation we go through to fit into an industry really does my fucking head in.
Yeah. And on the other end of the spectrum, we find it hard to do serious work because we have such a fun and casual workplace where we're all in active wear, we train all day. When it comes to like delivering content, putting together like computery officey sort of things, we struggle because we don't have a proper office setting. We've just got a big gym floor, we train all day.
But that's a gym.
Yeah. Yeah, but the gym is the front of it, but like there's still marketing, there's paying bills, there's finance, all these things that go on behind the scenes that I do, and my kind of immediate kind
that
of...
could happen in your car.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Maybe you have to have one of these t-shirts with the printed tie and that on it.
But you talk about gratitude, right? And I can honestly tell you, because I get up at 5 o'clock most mornings, if not 4:30 or 5:30.
Should be 4:30.
Well, 4:30 or 5:30, but usually 5. I fucking love the fact I can just grab a shirt and just throw it on and get out the fucking house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I literally am grateful every morning for that fucking fact.
I couldn't think of anything worse than wearing a suit.
You don't shower?
Shh. Pregnant pause. Great topic.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry,
awesome.
JB and Hato.
Yeah, fuck you.
They get to listen to it, they'll experience it secondhand.
Do you reckon they listen to it?
Travis
I reckon
Travis
does.
reckon he doesn't, yeah.
No, Travis doesn't. He's a hippie, mate. He listens to the fucking wind through the trees.
The birds. The peacocks.
He'll miss out.
Thanks,
Thanks,
looks like he
Jack.
missed a fucking haircut or two lately. I'll give you the big tip.
2. His facial hair's going next level.
Imagine being his kid coming out watching that, catching out.
Hello.
He's good.
I'm heading back in, mama.
Guys, I gotta go. Love you guys. Good podcast.
Champagne.
Yeah, if you guys have enjoyed this, if you particularly enjoy a topic, just let us know. Send us a message, engage with our social media.
Sign up at the gym.
Movement Co.
100%.
Movement Co.
Come down and help us build some ablution blocks.
So we can, so everybody can have a movement.
You sign off.
So that was the sign.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Champagne.
Ciao.